What's going on, Salt Strong Nation? Me and Justin are out here today. We're going to be doing some fishing for redfish, trout, and snook. We're out here. We're going to be targeting some outer edges of this big bayou that we're about to fish. We're basically going to be beelining it to the outside edges to really start out on some trout, possibly redfish, snook that might be hanging out there. We had an outgoing tide that might have put them on those outside perimeters, but as that tide rises, we're going to be starting to move back into this little bay you guys are seeing over here, and we're going to be targeting some of the fish that are following that tide in. There's actually some really nice oyster bars in there. And I do believe that as it starts to kind of get a little bit warmer, those oyster bars are going to be kind of like heat radiators for these fish. They're going to congregate in those zones, and we're going to see if we can get on a solid pattern of where these fish are going to be in some cold water zones. Now, Justin fishes these types of areas a lot, so I'm excited to be out here with him. Are you excited about getting out here today and getting after some of these fish?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main reasons we wanted to come check it out is that Wyatt just did a spot dissection talking about those oyster bars at the tip of this bayou that we're fishing. And I don't fish oyster bars a whole lot. There are a couple here throughout central west coast of Florida and definitely, you know, around Apalachicola and the Bend. But the thing that's most intriguing is that we should have a negative tide. We should have really, really low water, and a lot of it's inaccessible to boats. A lot of times, boats can still effectively fish it on the outside edge, which is what our pattern's gonna be. We're gonna try to get to the end of the bayou where all this water is dumped out, and hopefully all these game fish are gonna be waiting on the outside of the bayou. But as we make our way through, we may find some tailing redfish, we may find some back creeping trout in like a foot of water or shallower that only we can access in a paddle craft. So that might be really, really cool. This time of the year with east winds and north winds and you get negative tides or all the water just gets blown out. It's like the Gulf had the plug pulled on it. There's no water around. It gets to be a lot of fun because you find fish that are not necessarily stuck, but nobody else can get to them. So it can be fish in a barrel. So I hope we find a ton of fish. We're just gonna, I like that plan. We're gonna boogie it all the way to the end of the bayou. We're gonna try to get to that outside edge where all the water's dumped out in hopes of finding maybe a deep pocket where a lot of these fish are gonna be stacked up. And as that sun gets higher, use the oysters, use maybe some muddy bottom areas where the heat's gonna build up that bottom, and a lot of these fish are gonna be more comfortable getting back up into the shallows.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good day. So let's go ahead and jump in. You guys get ready. Finally. Yeah. Well, you know what would probably be really good is to get up front and just drift this. Set a drift or two back. See what we see. Daggone! Woo! Snook. So he's just sitting, that channel's right there, and he's sitting in the calm stuff to the left of it. Right where we hooked those trout on the other side. They're starting to move out of that cut. There we go. Yeah, he hit that perfect. Nice snook. Okay, so we finally made it here into the zone. It is very low water. We had to get out in portage to get over to this area here this morning. It is crystal clear, number one. The water's low, number two. Wyatt's over there stalking some fish right now. And number three, these fish are incredibly spooky. So when this happens, I try to do a couple things. I try to make sure, I mean, I've got a really long section of 20-pound fluorocarbon just for good measure, just in case, you know, they can't see the line. That's debatable right now. Number two,
I go with a lightweight hook, and I try to go with a weedless hook so that I don't snag any pieces of grass when I'm trying to pitch up to these really picky fish. Now, I was throwing the power prawn, and I put some Dr. Juice on it. They did not seem willing to go over and investigate, and just slowly creeping that prawn down on the sand. Normally this will get them, but we're gonna mix things up, and I think I've got one left of this translucent gulp, this Scooby color, and I think this is gonna blend in very well under these type of conditions. We're gonna pop this on a weedless weighted hook, and we're gonna drag it by these same redfish and see if we get a different reaction. We're going to keep moving down behind me into this little corner, but I'm gonna cut out a little bit from the shoreline because I don't want to spook any fish that are real tight to the shoreline. We're gonna stand up, try to get the best vantage point possible. And we're gonna do my favorite thing in the world, and that is sight fish. Now, whether it's super crystal clear like this, or even when it's tannic or muddy, sight fishing is definitely still possible. You just need to be able to make out the silhouette of these fish. You don't have to see the whole body and the eyeballs. You just need to get an idea of the direction that these fish are moving, and you need to see the silhouette, because you always want to present in front of the direction that these fish are going. Really, they're eating, you know, their zone to be able to eat a lure or a bait is kind of like a big dinner plate, right? So once they get within that bubble or that dinner plate area of a strike zone, they're more willing to commit to whatever the offering is. As I mentioned earlier, these fish are incredibly picky right now, and I just want the best chance of getting a bite so that I kind of get an idea of how they're behaving. Right now they're spooking at the sight of their own shadow, but hopefully some scent will get them to commit. So I'm gonna work my way down this edge here right now, and gonna try to just, I wouldn't say dead stick a gulp, but just very, very slowly pop a gulp shrimp in front of them on the bottom, and maybe they'll be a little more willing to pick that up, because that's a scent I can get a positive reaction out of them. Oh, nice snook. That was cool. Well, one that wanted to play. Look at that, guys. Only took forever. Oh, sorry, buddy. Woo! Try to bring you around the kayak. There we go. He was hot on that one. He's not monstrous. I mean, he's a little peanut, but still super cool. Hey, easy. Yeah. There we go. Little like 18, 20-inch snook, but still cool. Get him on the gulp shrimp. Oh, okay. Relax. Let me let you go. Let me let you go, buddy. Okay. Get a quick release. Oh. There you go. Thank you. Good boy. Slug him like a dog. Good boy. Just got it onto my thumb. There he goes. Just hang out. You know, maybe next time eat like an actual pilchard and not the lure. Oop. And that right there, after you fish for snook, always check your leader. I'm actually fishing with 20-pound right now because the water is so crystal clear. And who's to know? I mean, I could have gotten a bite on 30, but for the most part, I'm trying to target redfish. And every now and again, the snook will pop up. So after every snook you catch, or even hook and jump off, please, please, please check your leader. If I had not checked that, and let's say a 27-inch redfish had swam across my path and I set the hook, chances are I probably would have broken that fish off and would have gone into a corner and cried. So it's always important to check your leader after every snook that you catch. Even just a quick hookup and one quick shake of the head, and these fish will pretty easily chafe through your leader. All right, so we were about to wrap up our day and start heading back to the ramp. Water's starting to get a lot higher, and as I was making my way back, Wyatt hightailed me down and was like, dude, there's tons of redfish.
There's a bunch over on these little islands over here, but they are so spooky right now,
and I've been biting the tails off my paddle tails. I've been swimming them right on the dinner plate. These fish just aren't committing. You know, the twitches seem to draw their attention. I've had a couple of them come up and look, but they don't want to commit.
Yeah, just slow bounces on bottom. I think it's, you know, the fish of 1,000 casts kind of thing when they're really, really picky. So we're getting up on these spoil islands right now. We're gonna see if we can pull one out. If I get a net, man, that's a great fish, dude. I got you here with this net if you need it. That is, dude, that's a red right there, man. Bring him over. That is a red right there, dude. That's solid. Yes.
Yeah, real pretty red right here, just sitting in a pothole in the same areas that were completely dry earlier. They've warmed up, and now these fish have the ability to get up here and start hunting. So gonna get this guy back here real quick. So I wanted to give that red a proper release, so took it into the water, did a nice little photo shoot with it, but we were actually rolling up on one of those oyster bars that we were talking about earlier. It seems like, again, these fish are starting to move up to the warmer areas, those shallower zones, sun's up a little bit higher. The fish that were in the shallows were super spooky, so I think I'm gonna start focusing my efforts a little bit more out on the flats. That red was just sitting in a pothole, just a constant retrieve over, and I actually did a video that went live Monday about fall retrieves, and it was that exact scenario, just a slow, constant retrieve, giving a lot of time for that pause for that lure to sink down into that depth change where that fish was holding. I mean, it's cold. I'm standing in the water right now. I know they're hunkered down. Those reds that were on the shoreline weren't moving around too much. They were really lethargic, so I need to give those fish every opportunity to strike that lure. All right, guys, so we're back here. The kayaks are cleaned up. We're ready to head in and get a sandwich, but it was a really fun day of fishing. Our game plan was pretty spot on. Those fish were just about exactly where we predicted they were going to be. I actually did a spot dissection on this area a while ago. If you're an insider, you might have seen it, but we just wanted to see if that spot dissection would hold true, and ended up having a pretty productive day.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. Like, I've always wanted to fish the area before, and to be able to go out there and like pretty much like 8-ball corner pocket and say, all right, I think fish are going to be here, here, and here based on what the area looks like in our pre-planned trip. And to go out and actually find them in the spots was really cool.
Yeah, so that's the benefit of the Insider Club, is we teach you guys exactly how to do that, to go and pick an area you want to fish based on the conditions, time of year, all kinds of other factors, and successfully find and catch fish. So there's a lot more we have to share on this trip. It's going to be in the exclusive Insider Report at saltstrong.com. If you are an insider, you will have access to that. You'll see exactly where we were fishing, some more advanced tactics. So we will leave a link to the Insider Club below. Again, if you're an insider, you will really enjoy that report. We've got a lot of great tips in there. So thank you guys again so much for watching. It was a really fun day of fishing, and we'll see you on the next one. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we're the best online fishing club in America. If you're trying to catch more redfish, sea trout, snook, and flounder, there's really nothing else like it, and we back all of this up with our premium education, our private insider community, and discounts on the best saltwater fishing tackle that you're going to need. So we hope to see you in the Insider Club family soon, and thanks again for watching.